to test out my system, and I hope people will tell me if it's working. Let's see. Hi, everybody. I made it to Manchester, England. I've been traveling for what feels like a day and a half, and so I am pretty tired. It is a dark hotel room, but these are also dark, puffy eyes. I thought I would take some questions from people to help me stay awake a little bit longer and then crash out and go to sleep because I'm doing 2 talks tomorrow. I hope those of you in Manchester will join me. Hey, Billy. Everybody check out Billy Johnson. She was interviewed in my book. She is awesome. So thanks to people for joining in for very sleepy me. Drinking all the vitamin C I could add to this overpriced airport bottle of water. I'm not sponsored by cottage cheese. I'm also not sponsored by expensive airport water. Let's see if we are also going live to YouTube right now, since that was the original plan. And I think we might actually be live on YouTube as well. So this might actually be working now, peoples. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you. Remember, there is a roughly 30-second delay, I think. So ask me anything while I'm awake. Happy to take questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to stream a little bit for testing purposes and then bonk, completely fall asleep. I hope, you ever travel a really long time and you're like, yeah, I'm going to get there and I'm just going to crash and fall apart and sleep. And then you're like, why am I so awake? I've been up for days. So that's going to be me. I am allergic to caffeine. I haven't had any caffeine. So really, I should be barely alive right now. But hello from Manchester, England. Later this week, I'll also be in Munich. Yes, that Munich, Germany. I'm doing a 1-hour talk and a full-day workshop at DevOps Con in Munich. I'm also wearing the DevOps Con shirt from when I did their Berlin event in June. God, where did this year go? Does anyone else feel that way? Where did this year go? But keep going, year. What else can I tell you? I don't know. That's, I think we're actually streaming live to YouTube as well. Let me see if I can figure out a way to monitor questions or comments there. YouTube doesn't make this easy, do they? Grr. Let's see, go live. Still figuring this out, people. This is a test. Second test of equipment. Oh, Julio, gracias. Good to see you again. Wojtek, hello again. Thank you, everybody. Let's see if I can figure out a way to see YouTube questions. Oh, good. I've got it. I see. We've got one person watching on YouTube, a very good friend of mine, Mr. Pear Juice. And some people watching on LinkedIn, 11 people. See you tomorrow in person. That'll be great. Oh, I promised to wear a little concealer and to try to look like I put myself together. I promised to have done my hair and everything. Talida, welcome to Manchester. You're going to see me tomorrow too. This is great. Oh, I can't wait to meet you guys. I don't have my glasses on right now, so if I don't recognize your faces with your names, don't take it personally, because remember, on LinkedIn, you are a not even postage stamp. You are like a tiny, tiny circle of person, and I'm not going to remember everybody's names and faces. So great. I look forward to meeting everybody tomorrow. I'm doing a daytime talk over at Mateo's company, and then I'm doing the evening Real UX meetup. So if you believe in Real UX, come hear me talk about it. I think there was a wait list for that event. You can Google Real UX Meetup Manchester. I think there was a wait list for that event, but I think we all also know so many people say yes to meetups and then don't come. So I can't promise everybody gets in, but I would say please do try to come, and hopefully there is a spot for everybody. You can also check with the organizers. I will be doing my fantastic Stop Evangelizing UX and What to Do Instead talk. Runs about an hour. I do not have any books with me, so I can't sign a book and sell you a book. but hopefully people are starting to read my book. Randall says, didn't bring cottage cheese, but I've got clam chowder. Good choice. I cannot eat that due to food allergies, but yes, I also have no cottage cheese either. So if there's no questions, if ask questions, guys. Again, there's a 30 or so second delay, so ask some questions. But I was just posting on LinkedIn that I saw a very famous American staffing company put out a blog post trying to dispel the myths between what's in a visual designer job and what's in a UX job. And wouldn't you know it, they explained that a visual designer job includes interaction design models, wireframing, and things like that. And my thought is, okay, we know some companies who tend to not totally understand UX or be high in UX maturity do sometimes try to add UX tasks to a visual designer's job, but that doesn't mean that's the right thing to do. That doesn't mean it's the best way to go. That doesn't mean it's the best outcome or results from that. And if we're going to write a blog post about kind of the optimum way to go and what the definition should be, then I would suggest that we define a visual designer job as purely visual design. All of the typography, color, accessibility, branding. Now, I'm no visual designer, so I'm going to miss some things here. Don't get mad at me. But obviously, there's a huge amount of stuff that visual designers do. They're awesome at it. I can't do it. I need them. But of course, there's a lot of things that UX professionals do that very often visual designers are not the best at. And so I believe if we're going to write blog posts, Medium articles, and we're going to position that article as, here, let us give you like the real facts on what's the difference between A and B, then at least start with the textbook definitions of the differences between A and B. And you can always explain later in that article that some companies that don't fully understand UX or haven't leveled up their maturity or tend to just hire artists and try to give them UX tasks, that here's some of the things you'll see when jobs are being hybridized, that a visual designer might be expected to do this, or the job might say UX designer, but it's really a lot of visual design. We can always include that in the article, but please, peeps, if we're going to position our article as, let us explain to you the real definitions of these things and set expectations, then we've got to do it correctly. And especially for a staffing company, because my hope is that as UX evolves and CX evolves and these things mature, that we will find that our recruiters are on our side, that they understand the differences between these things, and that they're our allies. That when everybody who's seen me speak, and those of you tomorrow, you'll see my example of a UX job that expected someone to be an expert illustrator. I mean, that's a subspecialty even within the art world. So I would always hope that an internal or external recruiter goes back to that employer, goes back to that hiring manager and says, look, I know you think you want this, but your Venn diagram here is not quite as close as you think. And that if you really want someone with huge UCD knowledge, experience, expertise, as this particular job did, and you think you want an expert illustrator, hey, we've got a little bit of dose of reality for you. And also, the video's freezing. Hold on, let me try something on my end. It'll make me blip out a little bit, then hopefully it'll help me be better. Because I'm a frequent traveler, they tend to give me a corner room because they think they're giving me an upgrade, but then somehow I'm always really far away from the Wi-Fi. So let's see if we can get me to blip back in here. Oh, YouTube is back. LinkedIn is freezing. So not too sure what's going on there. Are we back? Can you see me? I changed up my connection a bit in the hopes that it's not freezing as much. Not freezing. All right, well, let's try this. Yeah, so what was I saying? Oh, yeah, I was saying that because I travel so much, some hotels will put me in a corner room thinking that's a nice upgrade. And it's a cute room, and I'm on the corner. But then I'm usually the farthest away from all of the Wi Fi. So it's like CX moment. When people tested the Wi Fi on hotel floors, did they test them from the corner rooms, or did they just stand outside the elevator, go, yeah, we've got Wi-Fi, and move on? So little CX moment there, people. Hi, Adil, good to see you again. Um, so, obviously, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I'm not always thrilled with what people post on Medium, and neither is Darren Hood, if you follow him a lot. And I feel like that the best way to explain it, and those of you who read part 1 of my book, read the interview with Larry Marine, who is awesome, and you should follow him. And whenever I asked him what he thought of different people or methodologies or books or whatever, he just kept saying, scorecard, baby. And he said it like that, though I don't know if you'll hear it in the book. And basically his point was, sure, we can offer up any idea on the planet. We can say UX should be unicycle riding jugglers. He didn't say that, but I'm giving you a different perspective. But where is the case study? Where is the results, the metrics, the ROI, the KPIs? Where are these things? We can say, oh yeah, we should follow this person's book and we should do it. Okay, and then when you did it, what were the results? So it's really easy to write an article. It's easy for me to write an article. It's easy for you to write an article and say, yeah, UX, no, I wouldn't do this, but UX is dead and user-centered design is bloated and interaction design isn't a thing. You can write all the Medium articles you want, but if you don't suggest what your alternative is, and you don't give us your scorecard, baby, and show us how your alternative idea is producing results, then I'm going to have to say that this is garbage, and I'm going to have to say that this is hurting our industry. Because people are going to imagine managers, leaders, executives, all those people we're trying to evangelize to, all those people we wake up in the morning and say, is today the day they're going to understand me and what I do? All those people are going to see all of these Medium articles saying user-centered design doesn't work anymore. UX, it's gone, it's dead. This is what, if you think you're evangelizing UX, you are not. And obviously I'm not the biggest fan of evangelism, but I definitely don't want anti-evangelism. I definitely don't want mountains of articles out there trying to make it look like our profession truly has died. Just mix us in with visual designers and get rid of all of the wonderful, fantastic, talented people who are working in it now and hoping to work in it in the future. So you can hypothesize all you want. And I've recently seen a few articles that were like, yeah, UX is dead and UCD doesn't work and all this stuff. And what I ended up finding really was that they were clickbait. But the problem is if people just look at the headline, remember, everything, if you work in UX, you know a little bit about psychology. If you know a little bit about psychology, you know that everything you do trains people. Most of you are now trained not to tag me in someone else's post or send me someone else's post or article if you don't want me to react to it. Some of you are like, why did you react to that? Well, why did you send it to me? So I've accidentally trained some of you by, you send me a crappy post, I go and comment on it. Thank you, Jennifer. Oh, good to see you, Jennifer. It's been a while. So everything we do trains people. And more you are out there saying UCD is dead, UX isn't a thing, anybody can do this, let's just democratize everything, bring in everybody to interpret research, you're killing the industry. You're helping to dig our graves. And I'm not okay with that. And you shouldn't be either, because just like my latest article at cmswire.com talks about how ageism sets up a future that ageist people don't want. Like, okay, you're 28 and you're writing stuff on LinkedIn like, hey, we don't want to hire people with experience. We want to hire people with drive, who are go-getters, who are ambitious, who are hungry, who are learners. Well, so am I, and I'm 47. I mean, you guys, some of you know how hard I work. I mean, I mostly work 60 hours a week, 80. I mean, when I wrote my book in 4.5 months. I wrote 192,000 words in 4.5 months. How many hours do you think I spent on that? I am not some lazy old person. Don't look at my silver hair, which I got in a bad divorce in many years ago. Um, don't look at my silver hair and assume that I am some sort of old person who no longer has the drive to learn new things, or is eager to be creative. I'm all these things. So ageism sets up a future that ageist people don't want. They're going to be very unhappy in 15 years when people, you have to remember, for many of us who have been working in UX 5, 10, 15 more years, our experience is our calling card. That is our calling card. That is what I can sell you on. I can sell you on, I have this experience, I have this expertise. Here's some great results that I've had. If you strip that away from me and others by saying, don't hire for experience. You don't really need experience. Just, blah, blah, blah. Then there's always some weird replacement for it. What's left for me? What am I supposed to do? Write a resume that makes me seem hungry? Well, I'm certainly thirsty. And by the way, I'm happy to take questions live. You can always turn this into an Ask Me Anything. So there's about a 20 or 30-second delay, but feel free to ask questions. I'm watching mostly LinkedIn, but I'll peek in on YouTube once in a while to see if there's questions there too. So we don't want to set up the near future because we're already watching it crumbling. We're in that Avengers movie. The stuff is crumbling. We're trying to save it with our fancy. I just saw Doctor Strange for the first time. Our fancy moves. I got Disney Plus. I watched Doctor Strange in Italian with Italian subtitles. We don't want to set that up for ourselves. And so the UX workers and so-called leaders who are posting these things, what are you setting up for your career? If you're saying, this is dead, this isn't a thing, we don't really need this, it's too flawed. What are you setting up for the people you mentor? What are you setting up for the people who follow you here? I want to be building something. I can't just keep burning things down without building up what we should do instead. That's what made me write so much in my book. I couldn't just complain about everything. I had to come up with what we should do instead. And I had to find ways to prove that was the right way to go, that people should try it. So warning to all of you people who want to write one of those articles, the UX is broken, UX is whatever. If you want to write that, make sure that it's not clickbait, because someone might only read the headline and just take you at your word. I've seen the headlines like UCD doesn't work anymore. And then you read the article and you find out, well, they really do think it works, but UX should be more collaborative. Yes, UX should be more collaborative. We're often too siloed, sometimes by our own doing, sometimes through gatekeepers and other broken relationships. But don't get clickbaity, people. It's got the power to hurt us. For all those managers, leaders, and execs who just watch headlines go by and they just scroll and look at the headline, you've now taught them user-centered design is broken. And they didn't take the time to read your article to learn, oh, no, wait a minute, it's not broken. We just need to be better collaborators. Call your article that. How UX can be better collaborators. Don't tell us we have to be better collaborators. Tell us how. Every article you write, every LinkedIn post you write, maybe even every tweet, but I mostly stay off Twitter. Everything should be actionable. I know sometimes it looks like I'm just complaining about stuff, but if you read what I'm writing, I nearly always have here's what we should be doing. Stop doing this, please do this instead. Or don't do this, consider this direction. Make sure there's actionable stuff and name your articles and blog posts and podcasts by what your point is going to end up being. If your point is going to end up being, we need to be better collaborators and here's how, or here are some examples, call it that. How UX can better collaborate on their cross-functional team. That's positive. That's inspiring. I'm going to read that and assume you're going to give me at least a few examples I can go into work tomorrow and try. If you're not going to do that, no offense, but you don't have to write an article. You don't have to do a podcast. I don't need to read something again that says the world's on fire or it's broken. I'm watching you break it. So try to be part of the group of voices that are trying to fix and improve it. Bill says, be solutions oriented. Number one way to impress management and above. Bill is right. And Bill's got a lot of great posts here too, guys. Follow Bill Darby, if you're watching on LinkedIn. I like to see his posts. He's got a lot of great links to jobs, and he makes a lot of cool points. Let's see. Caroline, if I'm pronouncing you correctly, says, hi, Debbie. What advice do you have for an early career product designer? My work is hybridized between UX and visual. Is it possible to balance both, given that I work for a smaller startup? Thanks, Caroline. Chances are your startup expects you to balance both. Many startups do not yet have the budget and in some cases the understanding to know that UX is sometimes done better by a specialist. And you may or may not be at that point. I would have to go read your profile, see if I can open that in a new window without killing this, if you don't mind. I'm going to take a look at your background, but I would say a startup probably expects you to do both jobs. So you're going to have to find the balance with it. The main thing that I would recommend to you is that if you really are doing hybrid UX and UI, to make sure you're really giving the UX your full attention. It's very easy for people who say, I do UX and I'm an artist, to end up then mostly making pretty wireframes. And if you're familiar with UX, you know it is so much more than can we make our wireframes prettier. So make sure that you are investing time and these people's money in doing great customer research, real customers, potential customers, target customers. Learn all about these people. Watch them where you can, do observational studies, interview them where you can, get videos if you can, so that your report has some clips in it so people can see who these people are and bring them to life, rather than without that, we suffer too much from guesses, assumptions, and well, here's what I think our customers will do, or we don't have to do that. We know our customers. Total kiss of death. To me, the number one mistake startups make is product market fit. They haven't done the proper research. They have something they want to sell, and it just doesn't match up. And hypothetically, you can be the shepherdess that will lead them to build the right thing for real people and those needs. Thank you, Limon. Is that the way you say that? So Caroline, I'm going to take a peek at your LinkedIn, and it says you're a product design intern. Congratulations on what might be your first job. Oh, maybe not. You've got a couple of other internships. And if I scroll back on you, you've got Penn State, is prestigious the right word? I'm so sleepy. Bachelor of Design, Digital Multimedia Design. So that's great. So I assume you've got a background in some visual design. And it looks like as of about 2018, you've done a lot of UI design with some process flows and wireframing. Again, this is my impression of you. I could be wrong. You did a graphic design internship. You did a UX UI design internship. But if I read that, I would say your UX UI design internship was really nearly mostly UI. Because when you say develop a design system and UI designs and wireframes, and you did design sprints, which if you follow me, you know I'm against, that sounds like mostly UI. Remember, I know that wireframes, prototypes, interaction design are UX, but to me, you're not doing it correctly if it's not part of a complete breakfast, if it's not part of the user-centered design process. If you're just isolating wireframes and going, hey, look, I sketched the screens, then I would say, learn more about UX. And again, I'm not saying you are doing this. I don't know you. And I see you are working on concepts and high fidelity prototypes. So again, just looking at your profile to me says more UI and visual design, and that UX is something that you might have started calling yourself because you were doing designed wireframes. But I would say be careful, because somebody like a startup might see UX and expect you to do more, or actually I would expect you to do more. If you want to carry that UX banner, please do, but carry it in a thorough and correct way. So consider the entire UX process. For this startup, has there been a competitive analysis? Has there been an audit of their existing product or any preliminary ideas that they have? Has there been deep research with, again, real archetypal target customers? My degree background is heavy visual. I'm trying to get into UX research. It's a great idea, Caroline. And you may find that it's a match for you. You may find it's not, but you definitely want to learn more because, again, I see a lot of artists who say, I make wireframes, but I find it's not part of a real process. And I know I'm terrible at art. And so I know if I said, oh, yeah, I'm an artist, I'm just going to take out my Galaxy Note phone and pull out the pen and start sketching something. And you might say, well, that's great. But then you might also look at my art and go, oh, man, she really doesn't have the right process or technique or approach. And that's normally what I see when artists are trying to add UX to their title. So I would say be careful of falling into that trap of deciding that pretty wireframes are UX, because to many of us, it's more of research, architecture, design, testing, and iteration. So what did you learn from testing? Now let's circle back and make better prototypes, better wireframes before engineering builds it. So where can you learn UX research? I will have a better answer for that in Q1. I don't have a fantastic answer for that right now. As you also know, I'm not happy with a lot of the trade schools and boot camps out there. I believe they are giving away certificates like penny licorice, and they're not really teaching the right things. They're not even checking your work. So people have portfolios that tell a story of poor work done poorly. So be careful. I would say hold on to your money. Don't rush into that. Do a little self-study right now. A lot of people like stuff on the Human Factors International site. I hear some good things about the Interaction Design Foundation, but I also hear some bad things. Do not rush into kooky stuff like design thinking and design sprints. They're going to undo themselves relatively soon. But I'll have hopefully more to say about a great place to learn UX research in Q1 if you can just wait a month or two on that. Drink your vitamins, people. If you've been flying like I have for the last 24 hours, drink your vitamins in whatever form they come in. If I had a sponsor, it would be the electrolytes, the powder electrolytes I add to stuff to try to keep myself alive. But they're not sponsoring me. I'm just a fan. Thank you for the good information. You're welcome. I'm happy to take other questions. See if there's any questions in LinkedIn. No. And thanks to Caroline for letting me sneak in on her profile and call it as I saw it. Thank you. Someone's clapping. I don't know who, but claps to you guys as well. Let's see. We've got 28 people joining me right now. Again, this is another test session, but I'm turning it into an Ask Me Anything, trying to keep myself awake a little bit here in Manchester, England, where it is coming up on 6 p.m. and sadly went dark just after 4 p.m. Boo, daylight savings, undo it. Caroline says, spot on. I've been trying to go to workshops and events locally that focus on UX to help educate me better on processes and problem solving and research. Are you going up to San Jose? Because based on where you're located, you're probably, are you going to San Jose, or San Francisco might be too long of a drive? Obviously, there's going to be lots of great people in the Bay Area. Check out Michelle Ronson. Is she here? Check out Michelle Ronson. She just sent her newsletter to me. How do I find that? Give me a second to go through my email, people. Michelle Ronson, where are you? Find her on LinkedIn. Michele, 1L, Ronson, Ronsen. And she does courses on UX research. I think she holds some of them up at the General Assembly in San Francisco. Many of you know I'm not a big fan of General Assembly, but as a location to hold a course, it's fine. So where did Michelle's email go? Maybe ping her and ask her to resend you her most recent mailing list email, because she had a discount offer. And just tell her Debbie Levitt's talking about her right now. I can tell her too. check her out. She might be a good person to learn from, and I will ping her and tell her I'm talking about her right now. Um, anybody, please send up other questions as I do that, as I tell Michelle her ears are burning. But again, those of you in the Bay Area, Michelle could be a good person to learn from. I would say she is. And she does hold some UX research courses. And she did just send out a mailing list email with a discount code. So again, maybe find her on LinkedIn and hold on, I'll tell her. I'm live streaming and telling everybody to contact you for your upcoming courses and the discount code that was in your email right now. So yeah, find Michelle Ronson, MiCheLeRonsen. I hope that helps. Anybody else have any questions as we do another test adventure here together? Let's see. And then LinkedIn, one person on YouTube. Thank you, one person on YouTube. You know who you are because it's only you. Let's see what else is coming in. Cyber Monday. Did anybody buy anything for Cyber Monday? I did not. Sorry, my face is just so sore from trying to sleep on planes. Who bought what for Cyber Monday? I want to know. Share it. Tell us. You can trust me. It's just all of us right now. We'll all hear what you bought for Cyber Monday. I didn't buy anything. Been on airplanes. 3 airplanes, to be exact. Man, I could use a massage or someone hitting me with a club. Really, all of these sound great. Hot shower. Woo. What else can I tell you? It's December, people. Holy cats. What are your New Year's plans? What are your holiday plans? I will be working. I love working. Don't worry about me. I love working. And I've got a super boyfriend that helps break it up, and I have 5 hilarious dogs that help break it up. For those of you not following my dogs on Instagram, please do. I'll put their handle in the chat room. They are called Canetti Perfetti, which is Italian for perfect puppies. We should all go buy your book. You know, Bill, that's a great idea. But, you know, in addition to buying it, you also have to read it. Don't just buy it, people. I only get a few dollars from that. I want you to read it. Why can't I send my own message here? Cannot send a message. Thanks, LinkedIn. Oh, well, follow my dogs on Instagram. Thank you, Bill, for saying you should buy my book. You can find my book on Amazon. It's called Delta CX. And Amazon sometimes turns up multiple search results for it. If you see one that says it's out of print, do not buy that one. I originally printed the book in a certain size, but fast feedback and iterate, people didn't like the size. So I changed the size, but I had to put the old size out of print. And then someone bought it and is like trying to sell it for $90 in the old size. You don't want the old size. So make sure you find Delta CX with the new size, which is American letter size, 8.5 by 11 inches, 384 pages if you buy the paperback. Paperback's around $23. Kindle is just under $12. So these are both available in Amazons around the world. And Michelle is messaging me back. She says, I can share the sign up to the newsletter. Let's see if I can add that to the chat rooms. Let's see, we'll add it to YouTube. So if anybody wants to sign up, this is Michelle Ronson's email newsletter. Email newsletter. And I got one today, and hopefully she can grandfather you in on any discount codes that she was mentioning for some of her courses. Let's see, paste, enter. Okay, there we go. That's Michelle Ronson's email list. There we go. So let's see, can we at her and get her attention? Can you at somebody in a LinkedIn Live? Of course. All right, well, so much for that. And whoever's calling me right now, I'm not answering. You're gonna have to contact me through the live stream. Yeah, so join her list and learn more. Okay, I just plugged it. She says it's a monthly email that so you're not going to feel bombarded and spammed. Good, that's the way to do it, people. Let's see. Any other questions? Any other questions or thoughts today? I'm testing streaming to LinkedIn and YouTube at the same time, and this seems to be working. But you know, I'm always happy to turn it to an Ask Me Anything. Trying to stay awake. Who wants to ask a question that will help me stay awake? Yeah. Help. I mean, if not, we can always wind this up and I'll have to find some other way to stay awake because TV is terrible. My gosh, TV is just terrible. I don't watch it where I live, but sometimes I go to another place, I try to turn on the TV and it's like, wow, endless carnage, negativity. Do not need that, people. Oh, here's something I want to quickly mention. So the other day I got a private message from someone I was connected to on LinkedIn, and we had previously had a good LinkedIn relationship. We had briefly met in real life, and we had a good thing going. And this person sent me a message that started out strange and got a little bit stranger. Pretty to sum up, and without naming names, this person basically, and I know that this person is way more religious than I am because I'm not religious, but this person basically told me I'm going to hell. And I said, I thought your religion didn't allow you to judge me. And this person said, no, they are allowed to judge me if they think I'm facing a lost eternity. So when I countered that opinion, this person blocked me. And I just want to say very quickly, if anyone plans to message me with any sort of political or religious message, you can just go straight to the blocking part. I really don't want to partake in any political or religious conversation. Even if we agree politically, I just kind of don't want it in my life. I just find it is too, I mean, don't you find that talking about politics and religion just wears you down, no matter what you believe, whether we agree or disagree, whether the person you're talking to agrees with you or not. I found even when I talked to people I agreed with, it was just so negative and frustrating and sad. And so I believe that LinkedIn is nearly 100% business. So I would just suggest, especially since y'all know I don't back down from a conflict or an argument or a debate or a fight for the most part. Some I will walk away from. But if you think you want to talk to me about politics or religion, just don't. Please don't. This is LinkedIn. I would prefer to not get that. I don't send that to any of you. And I definitely don't want to hear that I'm going to hell. If you believe I'm going to hell, good. That hopefully that feels great. Hopefully that is a match to you and it makes you feel good. Hopefully you don't think I'm going to hell, but you know, I can't get wrapped up in it. It doesn't match my belief system. So you feel free to go straight to blocking me in case you're the type of person who likes to block people they think aren't going to hell, or block people who don't agree with them politically, whatever it is. So just a quick word there. Feel free to go straight to the blocking. I don't want to have that conversation. I thought about blocking him, but then I was like, no, this is someone who has asked me for help and advice, and I don't want to block him, even though I'm not enjoying some of our conversations. But then he went and blocked me, and then I was like, oh, that's okay. Hey, any questions from anybody? Oh my gosh, my computer says it's 11:02 a.m. That is no longer true where I am. I need to adjust date and time. Yes, I'm on Windows. Where am I? Not Arizona. Where am I? Does anyone know where I am? I guess I'm Dublin, Edinburgh, Lisbon, London, as Windows puts it. Okay, I know where I am now. Thank you to the person who says, I totally agree with you. Thank you. And you don't have to. Just don't write to me and tell me I'm going to hell because I want to be friends with people. Well, I know some of you are like, gee, Deb, I've read your stuff. You don't always want to be friends with people. I would like to be friends with people, but I'm also a bit of a whistleblower personality and I'm not afraid to say the things people are afraid to say. Wow, this camera is really doing me justice. I look much more rosy and awake than I feel. I'm looking at my own video feed. Wow, I look nearly human. Anybody a Todd Rundgren fan and know the Nearly Human album? I am a Todd Rundgren fan. What kind of music are you guys into? Or we could play guess what kind of music Debbie is into. Let's see. I don't mention it on LinkedIn because it's not a business matter, but it'd be funny to see what people think I'm into. That would just be silly because it's late here to me and I'm a little wacky and I would just like to do something fun for a change. Let's see. Any questions? Nobody has questions for me. That's new. Is it because we asked every question on the planet the last time we did this? Because we went 90 minutes and we asked every possible question a person could ask another person? How long have I been going? Does it say? People still awake? Caroline is back, and Caroline says, any advice for people coming from non-traditional backgrounds making a career change into UX? 21 Pilots, what's that? I'm old. I don't know these things. I seriously don't know who 21 Pilots is, so I have to kind of laugh. I don't know who that is. Any advice for people coming from non-traditional backgrounds making that career change into UX? Yes. I mean, to me, the number one can't go wrong, always works advice is get a mentor who is senior level or higher. And that means 5 or 6 years of experience or more, specifically in UX. So many times I see people on LinkedIn who say, I'm mentoring. And then I look at their background and it's a little bit like where you're starting, Caroline, where it's like heavy art and just a little bit of wireframes and calling that UX. Try to get a UX specialist, expert, especially if you're into research. Ask Michelle if she has any availability to mentor or if she can recommend someone who does. I'm at the point where I've got too many people asking me for free mentoring. So what I offer is I offer everybody, and I mean everybody, unless you've blocked me, I have 15 minutes of my time for free. And normally in 15 minutes, I will look at your portfolio. I will record a voice message to you on my phone, walking through your portfolio and telling you what I think is going right or wrong. I will send you that message and we can message a little bit more. But for people who need more mentoring or more recurring mentoring, I do charge for my time at a discounted rate of $50 for a half hour. Yeah, what is 21 Pilots? Why not 22? So get a mentor. Anybody looking to transition into UX, anybody who's in their first UX job or first few UX jobs, get a mentor, either inside your company, outside your company, someone who can talk to you about soft skills, presentation, storytelling, dealing with conflict, understanding the agile process, somebody who can help you with the work side of things. This is the survey I'm thinking of running. Is this going in the right direction? Here's some research I collected. Am I getting the interpretation right on this? Now, obviously, there's only so much free mentoring some people can do, especially when you're asking them to spend what could be hours reviewing your work. So again, some of this might end up being paid to people. And I don't want people to assume that every mentor is free. It's great when you can find someone for free, but I find that many of the best UX veterans out there don't have time to offer a lot of free mentoring. It's just, it's just unfortunate. I don't have endless free time. I would love to, but I didn't win the lottery. So some of my time just has to be paid somewhere, somehow. So, number one advice, great mentoring. Number two advice would be great education. But again, right now I'm unhappy with the state of UX education. So, catch me in Q1 when I might have some fresh ideas. American alternative rock band, rewriting history through uplifting music and guerrilla marketing. Okay, Vincent, if you say so. Recommend what you think their bestest song is, and I will check it out. However, I give you this warning. I have a degree in music, and I'm a trained singer. And if a band doesn't have a great singer, it's usually very hard for me to listen to. So all of the 90s singers who sang really inaccurately and not that well, and my boyfriend is welcome to laugh because this is the conflict we have, as if we have conflict. That's the closest we get to conflict, where he's like, I like 90s indie singer-songwriters. And I'm like, wow, these people don't sing very well. So that's about all the fighting we do. So, warning, I'm pretty picky about music, and I like music to have some complexity, but not be jazz or fish. And I like singers to actually sing without auto-tune melodyne. Vocoders are fun as instruments, but shouldn't be to fix you. Is UX or animation booming in the future? UX should, says Negan. I'm hoping UX will boom in the future. It's technically booming now, but a lot of jobs are kind of going to people who don't have as much training and experience as I wish they did. I think animation will certainly continue to be strong, whether that's animated movies are doing great. Do you mean that kind of animation, or do you mean like kind of the animation of interfaces and micro moments and things like that? I think that the animation of micro moments and interfaces is really partially the job of UX, but often ends up being something the visual designer tends to come up with and play with, or that we can come up with as a collaboration. Um, but I don't think that would end up being just someone's job. It sounds like that's something that would fall into UX or UI or collaborating together of what sort of animations, transitions, motion should we have here. I think UX is going to have another tough year with still being very misunderstood and still being a bit of a victim of its own leaders, with so many authors and people out there who are writing books that kind of don't show us in the best light, between people who claim we're ruining design and we should all be licensed. By whom? Randall, let's talk about that. And people who are acting like UX is just too broken to fix, so let's just throw it away and give it up and have everybody design together in endless group sketching sessions. So I think it's going to have another tough year, but I think some good things will come next year. I'm going to be working on my article of 2020 predictions for UX. That will be out later in the month through CMS Wire, so you'll see me post about that when it is out. Caroline says, as a junior designer, how can I better develop my leadership skills amongst my team? I would say don't rush into trying to be a leader. In reality, the way that UX jobs normally progress, and I think to some extent visual designer jobs, and those of you who are leaders can correct me if you have a different perspective or I'm just wrong. But I normally find that you've got your junior and entry level job, your mid-level job, your senior job. Sometimes a larger company might have some levels above that before you hit manager, principal, lead, whatever they're calling it. That means normally you are not a senior UX designer, which is still a practitioner, not a manager or a leader or a strategist. I mean, this always project strategy, but not like a department strategist. Until you've got 5 or 6 years in. So I always tell people who have that experience and want to shift into leadership, the best way to shift into leadership is to start being that leader. So even if your title is senior or principal, can you mentor juniors at your company if your company is big enough? Can you run a monthly lunchtime seminar on a UX topic for the UX department or for everybody? Can you be allowed to be a little more strategic at the department level, because by senior, I expect you to be strategic at the project level, but can you be strategic for multiple projects or something like that? And that's often a principal or lead role that you might be doing. I think if you're still a junior, I would say don't get too far ahead of yourself yet. You might see yourself on a longer path to leadership, to management, to strategy. But I would say just be in the moment and allow yourself to be where you are now, which may just be fairly junior, fairly new to this, still learning, still finding your sea legs, and that's okay. It's going to be hard for you to show true leadership in something you're pretty much still learning. So I just tell juniors, it's great that you see yourself as having the path to future leadership, and I see that for you too. But don't get ahead of yourself. If you're still a junior, there's still so much for you to learn before you can lead. Right now is your time to be led. Be led by mentors. Be led by UX people who are senior to you at your company, if they exist. A monthly UX lunch meeting sounds awesome. Yeah, and just make sure if you're holding it and knowing you're a UX junior and you're still getting into UX because you come more from art, just make sure that you're not talking out your butt. Make sure that you're not making us look bad or unformalized. Make sure, and please also make sure you're not teaching people how to do our job. That's another mistake that I see people making is, oh, I want to talk about UX to people and I want to look like a leader. So I'm going to tell everybody how to use Sketch, or I'm going to tell everybody how to make a wireframe, or I'm going to tell everybody how to run research, or I'm going to have everyone do a design sprint. These things accidentally take away our power. They accidentally take away our specialty. When you accidentally or on purpose paint it like anybody can do UX work, let me just talk to you a little bit over lunch and now you're ready to go. What do they need me for? What do they need you for? Yeah, learn before you can lead. I mean, right now, Carolyn, I think I said Caitlin, I'm so sorry. Right now, Caroline, is your time to be led, and your time to lead will come. Absolutely. It's in your heart, it's in your blood, you're gonna get there. But right now, it's okay for you to be led and to be mentored and to be learning, and then just gather that up, and in a few years, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, you can hopefully be in that position to start doing some leadership. But again, if you're going to hold UX, like when I used to hold monthly UX, I don't want to call them lectures or seminars, whatever they were, when I had a principal job, but I was acting as the lead because the lead had quit and they gave me all of her stuff without her title. I did like a lunchtime thing on Gestalt principles of perception. Now, of course, you better understand them really well if you're going to be the lunchtime teacher on them, because someone might ask a follow-up question. So you can't just Google it, throw some slides together, and show up as that non-expert. So that's why I'm reminding everybody, if you're more junior and you're looking to hold these lunchtime things, don't teach people how to do our job. And don't teach them something that you aren't really, really deeply knowledgeable in and confident with. Another great lunchtime learning thing, especially for a small startup where you can get everybody in, would be accessibility. It's great to, and again, you want to learn more about it before you teach it, but it's really important to make sure that we are talking early on about how our products and services and interfaces and experiences are going to work fantastically for people with visual, mobility, hearing, cognitive, and emotional issues. This is not something we paint on at the end. This is not something we fix with some ARIA tags. Basically, this is something that should be part of our strategy from the start. I think that's in part 2 of my book. So for those of you who made it to part 2, come on, you can do it. Part 1 is fun, but you can get to part 2. I hear the first 10 pages are a little slow, but then it heats up. So I hear the interview with the colorblind person gets everybody on fire again. So lots of good accessibility things in part 2, and a reminder that that's part of diversity and inclusion. That diversity and inclusion shouldn't just be who did we hire? It should be, does our system work for a diverse audience, diverse target customers? So consider that. That's another great lunch and learn. It's great for you to learn. And then once you've got some good foundation information on it, it's great for you to pass on and to remind people that this is something that we do strategically from the start. Accessibility is not sprinkled on later, neither is UX, but accessibility is not, oh yeah, maybe we have some visually impaired people using this. What do we do? Me. No, learn more about what these people need. Again, part 2 of my book covers a lot of that. Excuse me. But then there's other ways you can learn as well. I'm taking questions from everybody today, not just Caroline, but she's welcome to ask more, and you guys are welcome to ask. This is me testing the system again, but it's turned into the Ask Me Anything. No cottage cheese has been harmed today, even though some was served to me on my airplane. I do not have any cottage cheese. So today I'm having water, to which I've added all kinds of, what did I add? Airborne and a bunch of other stuff in the hopes that all this traveling isn't going to make me sick. I'm amazed I don't get sicker given all the traveling that I do. So, any other questions? Otherwise, oh my God, we've been doing this almost an hour. Thanks to you guys for helping me stay awake for this hour. How do I look? Slightly puffy, very puffy, on a scale of 1 to 10. Mega puffy. Any questions on YouTube? Nope. Super puffy. Oh, just so stressed. I just want someone to do this on my face for like 4 hours. Does anyone else get like that from planes? Yeah. So I'll see everybody who's Manchestery tomorrow. And I don't know if anybody is going to Munich DevOps Con. I'll be there Wednesday and Thursday. And I'll also be doing DevOps Con, I've already been told, in London in April. So I want to start talking to some of you London peeps about planning some other London things while I'm there anyway. UX meetup groups, speaking at your companies, doing longer workshops like my Dev and UX workshop on explaining UX to non-UX roles and how we can work better together and how UX fits into Agile and things like that. Jose says, in my experience, when you design with or for disability in mind, it becomes easy and desirable for any user and customer. Always true, Jose, you're absolutely right. It's really important to remember that some people think, oh, accessibility, that's just for blind people. Who's using our system who's blind? Well, drop that arrogant crap, because accessibility is definitely for everybody. Yes, it makes things usable for blind people, people with other visual issues, people with hearing issues, people with motion issues. Think about all the people with carpal tunnel, Parkinson's. There's so many issues people can have. There's a huge list, really. I mean, cancer is on the list. Yeah, those of you who've gone through it or know people who have know how debilitating it was physically and mentally. These are all people who the websites and apps and systems and services that we build should work equally well for them. And if you're watching what's happening in the lawsuit world, Domino's is not doing well fighting all the lawsuits brought on by blind people who couldn't order a pizza. You have to remember, anybody, we, all of us, including me, we want to be independent. We don't want to have to rely on someone else. If you read part 2 of my book, where I interview Sheila about her work with disabled people, and she talks about how the place where she works bought an HR software package that is not usable by blind people. And they have blind people working where Sheila works. And if a blind person wants to put in for time off or wants to apply for another job within the system, they can't even do it. They have to ask someone to help them. When that happens, that isn't the right thing to do to our customers. Nobody wants to feel that way. Nobody wants to feel stupid. Nobody wants to feel like they couldn't get something done. That's when I say the 4 horsemen of bad UX show up: frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction, FCDD. And remember, we all want to feel independent. We all want to feel like something was easy to learn and easy to use. So considering accessibility early in the process and throughout the process just makes that work for everybody. But it means we have to consider a lot of things we didn't consider before. And that's where education is going to help you, because accessibility makes you think about stuff you haven't thought about before. Like, oh my gosh, every video we do has to have captions and a transcript for people who can't hear it. Hypothetically, every podcast like this should have a transcript. And, you know, Google and other things can try to guess what I'm saying, but it's not always a good guess. So these are supposed to come with captions for people with hearing issues. I don't know where on LinkedIn I can add that. I know where I can go back into YouTube and add that, but I don't even know where I would add that on LinkedIn. Gustavo Chow says, any advice for CX, UX in the pharmaceutical industry? That's a very broad question. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the pharmaceutical industry, from websites about medications to possible apps to all of the customer service and support that you guys have to do to talk to people about the drugs or accept people into trials or determine if they can get subsidized pricing. I think the best advice is really for any industry is to stop saying we know our customer, we know what they need, because you're usually wrong. That's usually arrogant. So I would say big pharma, even if you think you know the customer, do more research. You might be surprised at the range of experiences people can have with a particular disease or condition. There are always degrees of severity of a condition. There are always different degrees of people's outlook about their own condition. Some people are able to stay positive and get a little bit more done. Some people are very negative and can be depressed and don't approach things the same way. How do we speak to all of those people? Instead of just assuming everybody is one way, instead of assuming everybody is sad about their condition or happy about their condition, neutral about their condition, or putting in this much effort or not putting in this much effort, I think it's important to always keep doing research. And I think for pharma, research is usually chemical research, but I think there has to be good CX and UX research for people's fears, motivations, habits, mindsets, mental models, about their condition, about their treatment. And so much of pharma to me is really about hope and trust. Whenever I talk about pharma to people and what we can do in CX, I talk about hope and trust. And we don't want to give people artificial hope, but the reason we're giving them these drugs is to create that hope and hopefully to create that improvement or that cure. And a lot of that starts with that hope and that trust. And so how do we build that appropriately without overpromising? How do we manage those expectations of what will be the effects of taking this drug, good effects and bad effects? And no, they shouldn't be read 4,000 miles an hour in a commercial, and then we assume that we've correctly informed people. We have to remember the average person reads at what, a 9th grade level? Someone who's 14 years old? We can't assume that they understand all of these big words about conditions, body parts, side effects. You know, and I noticed that a lot of the commercials will use the Latin or the medical terms for things, even when we have non-medical terms for things. And I know that a lawyer wrote that so that we could get away with saying something scary with it being without being fully understood, because we used a high level medical term. Yeah, I was pre-med. I know a couple of things about a couple of things. That doesn't mean I'm mentoring anyone who's in pre-med. I know better. But, you know, you can say paresthesias, or you can say numbness and tingling in your extremities, normally due to dehydration. So I think that we have to start thinking on a bit of a more human level and talking to people at the level that they're at, and just making sure we're setting appropriate expectations for what these pharmaceuticals can, will, or might do. Hope that helps. I don't know if that went in the right direction there, but that's what I think of when people ask me about pharma. This week, I'm very grateful for Advil for all the headaches that I've had. It takes an hour to kick in. Is that true for everybody? Does ibuprofen take an hour to work for you? Oh, I feel like I'm waiting forever. So if we don't have any other questions, I will wrap it up and maybe just go to sleep at 6:30 at night. But maybe relax and we've got somebody. Hello, Udit. He says, "Gee, I'm sorry. I have my glasses on. I'm so sorry. I can't even see your picture. I'm so sorry." Udit says, "Your information is very helpful for us. Thank you. I have one doubt. If stakeholders are not agreeing with UX research process in the organization, how do I convince them? Any suggestions are appreciated." Well, gosh, I only wrote 192,000 words on this in my book. How do we convince stakeholders about the UX research process? The number one way to not convince a stakeholder is to expect them to have empathy. So do not fall for any of the people out there, the workshops, the books, or whatever that say, well, just create empathy in your stakeholders. If they didn't naturally have empathy, they're probably not going to get any. So don't assume that saying, oh, we need to do this, it's important to do this, customers need this. Don't assume that that's going to have an effect, because that would mean someone had empathy. So ultimately, what I say mostly in part 3 of my book is that the main way we're going to convince stakeholders that don't have empathy is to do more work to tie all UX efforts, research, design, architecture, testing, whatever it is, to metrics, KPIs, and ROI. So whoever is creating those for a project manager, product manager, marketing, whoever is the great shepherd of the metrics at your company. And if it's nobody, then now it's you, because we want to make sure that we want to say, when we do this project or when we build this feature, we expect these outcomes. We expect sales to go up X%. We expect customers to spend an average of Y dollars more. We expect Z number of new customers to join us each month. There's got to be something we're shooting for, because without that, everything's a money pit and everything is considered a success. And that's not true. A lot of things are not a success, but we're not keeping track. We don't always know. That's part of why people think design sprints are so amazing, because they're not being calculated financially. They're being calculated emotionally. Wow, we love that design sprint. Okay, it's a success. So the way that we need to get UX research more in front of people is make sure you're sharing it more. Now, that doesn't mean doing it by committee. That means when you have a report, make sure there's quotes in there, there's videos in there, make the report shorter and more digestible. Send it out with these videos, make sure people are seeing what we're learning. Make sure your report mentions that this is different from what we assumed. We previously had a guess or an assumption or a leftover old idea about our customers that said this. But thanks to our new research, we actually learned our customers have changed, evolved, turned over, and now they really need this. And that it's best for our company to focus on this. And then you want to shift into, this is how we are now predicting and mitigating business risk. That by being smarter about research and better understanding our customers so that we can cater to them, that we are mitigating business risk. We're keeping our company from burning time, money, sanity, reputation, customer support, sales, marketing on building the wrong thing. And that we're going to be more likely to build the right thing when we have done better research and we knew who these people were and what they needed. And then we researched, architected, designed, tested for those needs. And that may have made us more competitive rather than, oh, we ripped off the competitor. No, this time we're leading the competitors because we did the research. So Udit, I think there's a lot of ways that this can be done, but I think many people go in the wrong direction thinking we need more evangelism and we need more empathy. And the reality is someone with low empathy might never raise their empathy. I mean, to me, it's something you're kind of born with, and it's very rare. We go into this in, I think, part 1 in my book. It's very rare that people are able to raise their empathy without something very catastrophic happening to themselves. People can feel sympathy, but not always empathy. A psychopath doesn't feel sympathy, but that's a chat for another day. So I would say try a couple of those things, but make sure you're starting to tie work the UX department does, research, architect, design, testing, back to goals, metrics, outcomes. Otherwise, people think we are just the pair of hands that sketched what the requirements said. And that means we don't get a gold star. Engineering gets a gold star for building something nice. Product gets a gold star for a lovely roadmap. Project gets a roadmap for wrangling all of it. We are often left out of the thank you speech. So I would take a look at more ways that we can tie ourselves to these numbers, because ultimately the stakeholders care about numbers. Did we meet or exceed our goals? Well, what are their goals? How can we help them meet or exceed their goals? We should be trying to do that unless the ask is unreasonable or they want to build something that's a bit of a dark pattern. I hope that helps. Any other thoughts or questions before I sign off for the night? Thanks to you guys for joining me in another impromptu session. We've had 36 of you here. Thank you so much for joining me and putting up with my sleepy Saturn rings here and my lack of cottage cheese and my general flakiness, but I was hoping to stay awake a little bit longer, and thank you for that. With that, we have been successful. Any other questions? 2 viewers from YouTube. Hello, viewers on YouTube. And no questions there. And if I don't see any questions in the next minute on LinkedIn, I'm gonna call it a night, peeps. I know we're delayed about 30 seconds, so I'll give you guys time to ask the question. Good to see Marisol here, even though you didn't ask a question. Good to see you here. Thank you and get better. Yeah, thanks. I'm not sick, but I'm definitely a little worn out from what must be 24 hours of traveling from, I did Arizona to Los Angeles to Paris, and then Paris to Manchester. And then on my way to my hotel. So I'm just a little, I think flat out is what the Queen's English would say. So thank you to Jose or Jose Luis. I don't know if you use both your names. And Gustavo, I think your middle name is a last name, so I'm not going to try to pronounce that. But thank you to everybody who joined and had a question or a comment today. And I will be doing these as surprises from time to time. Excuse me, and we'll also be doing scheduled ones. Please join me for our next scheduled one is actually next week. Monday the 9th, we'll have Darren Hood on again. He did a great podcast a couple of weeks ago on UX career paths. Check the YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube, everybody. Just look for the Delta CX channel. We had Darren on talking about UX career journeys. And he is going to be talking next Monday around this time about emotional intelligence. So I will be posting some links to that and get it onto the schedule. That will be our next scheduled live podcast. So see everybody here next Monday, probably not before. I have a pretty crazy week of doing 4 talks in 2 different countries, but see everybody here next Monday. Have a great week. And if anything else comes up, you can always send me a private message on LinkedIn. And I do my best to respond as soon as I see it and I'm awake. So thanks again. And here I go. I'm going to attempt to find the stop stream buttons. And that may take a few minutes, but where's my live stream? Oh, here it is. Okay, bye everybody. See you soon.